Anyway, and I've been trying to get like to like deeper, like more profound sessions because I feel like it really helps me. Um, just getting into like a really deep, beautiful place where just like I really like a place where I have a vacation where Larry Levin doesn't exist for a little while, and so that's really beautiful. And um, but I have a question, like, so what's the difference between like um, you're integrating feelings, but then there's also like injuries or like chronic pain because I just have like just some issues like in my back that I'm when I'm doing the vibing, I see like metaphors and I feel like okayness with it, but I never feel like ecstasy like in that area of my back. I feel like relaxed into it and and metaphors and then I get epiphanies of things I need to change in my lifestyle in order um, to free up that energy. But there's people that have like wounds
Mm.
that injuries and things like that. And what's it? So how do you? Well,
Yeah,
you
yeah, okay, yeah.
the same.
You kind of, interestingly, is you actually, your own insight already answered the question somewhat. So when you said that
Yeah,
it's a vacation from Larry, this is
yeah,
perfect because what's happening is we're moving into a field of awareness that's bigger than our ego. Right? We're moving into a
yeah,
field of awareness in which your ego is simply a part of that awareness space. And when we are opening up to that field of awareness with through the body, through the felt sense of the body, um, any pain that we have is also part of that field of awareness. And one of the things we do with Vivation is it's like, okay, so like it's the same with resistance. So I always use my fist because it's easy to see on a Zoom camera, and this fist
yeah,
represents tension or pain, a knot in the back, an injury, something like that. Some part of ourselves that's all knotted up like this, right? So that is what it is in that moment. And what we're trying to do with this process is we're trying to cultivate unconditional love for ourselves and the present moment, and that includes this as much as we can, not more than we
mm-hmm.
can.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
what we do is the first thing we do is we never make this wrong. That's the first thing, because if we make it wrong, then we're now in a tussle, in a fight with the pain, and that's going to make it tighten up anymore. What this
mm,
needs is it needs love. However you think of it. If it's an injury, don't you need the love of a ER nurse who's going to help you get it better? I mean, you need
yeah,
love
yeah,
of something. It always needs love. That's always the right answer. Okay.
mm,
So we're softening around the feeling. We're cultivating unconditional love and kindness for the feeling, patience with the feeling, gentleness with the feeling. This is if I had an injured little kitten, it was like stuck out sword, like, oh, you poor thing. I'm going to bring it close. I'm going to surround it with a blanket of love, essentially. So that's what we're doing is we're tapping into this vast, spacious field of knowing and loving awareness space, which is what we tap into, this ecstasy, this eternal ecstasy that's always present right here, right now. And then that field of awareness is there, and this is inside that field of awareness of absolute unconditional love and spacious freedom that we're experiencing with Vivation. And your ego is also, you could think of this as your ego too, right? And so what happens is this starts to soften, it starts to let go, it starts to unwind, and it, quote unquote, integrates into that space, that ecstasy. Does that make sense?
mm,
So when we have physical pain, okay, 90% of that pain or what we perceive as pain as, in other words, suffering, I'd like to make a distinction between pain as in a feeling or like a physical feeling, right, and suffering is different. The pain is still there. The feeling that we label pain is still there, right? The injury is still there. But suffering can become optional as we open up to the space of ecstasy. And so what can happen then is that all of a sudden that 90% at least of the suffering, the pain, is dissipated. It's evaporated. It's gone. It's integrated into the space. And what's left is just that. But it's now surrounded from a place of unconditional love. And
mm,
so it's not an either or, it's a both and. You're okay, so you still have whatever this is, but you also have that.
yeah,
And it's so much easier to be present with this when you're tapped into that.
yeah. I love it.
Okay?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. And people say, okay, that sounds a bit, I don't know. That's like, well, that's the best part. You don't have to believe anything I just said. Just keep vibing, opening up to receiving the positive, open up to the joy and all of that. letting go of your resistance around this, relax as much as you can around this, cultivate unconditional love and kindness and gentleness and patience around this. It's always the right thing to do no matter what anyway. And what will happen is this will all of a sudden become a much smaller part of that space. And yeah, so, but I can't tell you that it quote unquote. And by the way, if you do that, then it's going to heal more anyway. You've created a space for healing to happen, whether it's physical injury or not. It's always the right thing.